Good afternoon and welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Thank you so much for joining us. We're following several breaking news stories this hour. Let's start right here in the nation's capital, where just minutes ago, a federal appeals court panel made way for President Trump's National Guard deployment to continue. This is a major accomplishment for the Trump administration, along with his campaign to crack down on crime right here in the nation's capital. More than 2,000 troops are deployed here in D.C. after Trump earlier this year ordered them into the city as part of a broader effort to clamp down on local street crime. Staying right here in the nation's capital, Fox 5 now confirming that D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser will announce Executive Assistant Chief Jeffery Carroll to be named as the interim police chief. Carroll now replacing outgoing Chief Pamela Smith, who announced her resignation earlier this month. He started with the MPD back in 2002, now serving as, yet again, the Executive Assistant Chief of Specialized Operations. The mayor said to be introducing Carroll at 1 p.m. We will have that for you live right here on the Live Zone. Joining us now to discuss this is former LAPD officer, spent nearly 11 years on the force, Arif Halaby, back here on the Live Zone. Arif, always good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the show.
Great to see you, Guy. How are you?
I'm good. This is big news right here in the nation's capital. We now know that Jeffery Carroll will be named the interim police chief. And obviously, the big question that most will have, when you become a leader of a police force in a big city, specifically right here in D.C., let's talk about the attributes needed in order to do so.
Yeah, ever since the defund the police movement and the Black Lives Matter movement that really kind of put police in the wrong light, as you would say, a broad brush and really swept them under the rug. The attitude, the morale of the Los Angeles Police Department, Chicago Police, New York, all big agencies really began to suffer. So leadership is key. If Chief Carroll has the respect of the men and women, the rank and file, I think he'll have a good shot at having a great tenure. The difference is, in a lot of these agencies, they are now political appointees. We call that normal. It is not normal, and didn't used to even be accepted when the police chief was appointed by the mayor, because then the police chief wouldn't investigate the mayor, wouldn't investigate the mayor's friends. That was kind of the old political, 1-2 shuffle here. So today, most agencies now fall into that as a political appointee. So the independence of the chief of police is going to be difficult, but certainly rank and file, in my opinion, is the best measure of success.
Arif, the naming of the interim police chief comes with the backdrop of controversy, if you will. We know a new congressional report alleges that MPD Police Chief Pamela Smith pressured commanders to manipulate crime stats to make crime appear lower. Now, before we talk about that, just minutes ago, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, while speaking to a crowd of onlookers, said this about Chief Pamela Smith.
The service of Chief Pamela Smith in the entire workforce at MPD. Give them a big round of applause.
So there you have it. The mayor stating that she is proud of the current police chief. And yet again, going back to the report alleging that she pressured commanders to manipulate crime data stats. As a former police officer, first of all, how easy is that to do? And would one go about to do it if pressured?
Yeah, when I was a recruiting officer for LAPD, or I taught at the police academy, or when I did undercover work, all of those different assignments led me to one thing and one thing only, and that is that when you have a political appointee as chief, it's in everybody's best interest up and down the food chain to make sure that crime stats are kept at a minimum. We saw this happen over and over again when the federal government, in this case, President Trump, really pressures cities into making a difference in their crime statistics. In other words, improving it. So does it surprise me? Not at all. Do I think it happened? I would probably bet my left arm on it.
All right. Yet again, the breaking news that Jeffery Carroll will be named the interim police chief. That will take place at 1 p.m., conducted by D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. We know that Carroll has been responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the police department. And Smith assigned him to the executive assistant chief position back in 2023. Clearly, Arif, they have a relationship here. Do you think that played a part, a role, if you will, with him being named the interim police chief?
I think so, and you're going to also see an input, I hope, from the police union or the workers that are on the street, the men and women on the street, because the officers on the street if they don't respect their chief of police, they're not going to work for him or her. They're not going to perform. And just the morale is bad. At any workforce, it doesn't matter where you work, at your station, at my company, or IBM, it doesn't matter. If the workforce is not in a good state of mind, if they don't respect leadership, then you're going to see a problem. My sources are telling me that Jeffery Carroll is a respected leader, and you're going to see over and over again the men and women support him in his role. Certainly there are a few outliers, people that don't like him, but that's expected in any leadership. It's just the propensity of the group should respect and like him.
Yeah, we also know that yet again he happens to be somewhat of a hometown hero, if you will. Attended Towson University, GW as well. Can you speak to that? How important is it for someone to, in essence, be homegrown and then named the interim police chief?
Yeah, the city of Los Angeles is working through that right now with a foreign guy from out of town. I think Boston, if I'm not mistaken, but out of town is our current chief of police, or was when we had Bill Bratton come through. We also had sheriff agencies back and forth. In other words, a sheriff coming to become police chief becoming a sheriff. Those kinds of things really lead to a nepotism, or even I'm going to bring over my group of people. When you have a hometown hero and you have somebody that knows, and this is a bit of a maybe controversial, but they know where their bodies are buried. They know the secrets, they know the political messes that they're going to get into if they step down this road. A police chief is not as much as a law enforcement officer, really. They're an administrator, a CEO. Their job is to make sure they have men and women underneath them to take the lead.
Yet again, it is official, all but official, as we like to say. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser said to announce Assistant Chief Jeffery Carroll as the interim police chief. That now due to happen at 1 p.m. We'll carry that for you live right here on the Live Zone. Arif, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Guy. Have a great week.
All right. Switching gears to politics, the Trump administration now expanding the country's travel ban list. Nearly 24 more countries now being added to that list. 5 of the additional countries and the people from the Palestinian Authority face a full ban. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Armin Kerdigan, U.S. Navy Captain Retired and political strategist right here on the Live Zone. Armin, it's always good to see you.
You too, Guy. Good morning.
All right, so let's jump into this. In this case, we're talking about all things surrounding President Trump. We know later tonight he will address the nation. And quite honestly, this is the first time that will happen in quite a long time. We know that the economy happens to be top of mind, affordability as well. What exactly do you think the president will touch on when he, well, in essence, addresses the nation?
Certainly, we're coming up on 1 year of his first administration, so he's going to touch on a lot of his progress. I suspect that he will talk about peace in the Middle East and the work that he's done around the world to bring peace. He'll also talk about the massive amount of foreign direct investment that's coming to the U.S. He'll also tout his successes in stopping the flow of illegal immigrants across the border, which has saved countless lives of people not making that terrible journey anymore. I'm sure he's probably also going to talk a lot about Venezuela. He's going to talk about the healthcare bill. There is simply no end of topics that he could talk about. And as you know, Donald Trump likes to make long speeches every now and then.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Yet again, we will carry that speech right here on Fox 5, on the Fox 5 Live Zone primetime show tonight, beginning at 9 p.m. Let's take it to Capitol Hill, where the GOP House health care bill is expected to be put up for vote today as the Affordable Care Act subsidies get set to expire. This obviously, Armin, a big deal, not only on the right, but on the left as well. All need to play nice in order for this to pass. What say you about all of this?
Folks have got to understand that the Affordable Care Act was not so affordable, and that's the reason why a lot of these subsidies were necessary, because the premiums just sort of exploded underneath it. It created a lot of structural problems and deficiencies. It relied on healthy people buying insurance that they didn't need to prop up people who were who actually kind of needed it. This GOP bill, its intent is to increase the presence of market forces, increase the strength and power of small businesses to buy insurance more locally with more control, cost sharing as well. It holds some pharmaceutical companies a little bit more transparent in terms of the kickbacks that they provide to other folks. So it is there to improve transparency. It's there to improve competition. And frankly, that is actually a lot of what we need right now, because the more money you throw at this problem, the more controls that you try to put in, the more expensive it gets and the more challenging it becomes for a larger number of Americans to actually get affordable health care.
Yeah, not only that, but I think no matter what side of the fence you stand on, we all do not want a government shutdown yet again. Let's take it back to the president, where Trump now stating that he's worried Congress is becoming anti-Semitic. The president made those remarks last night at a White House Hanukkah celebration, arguing that the Jewish lobby has been losing influence over the past decade. Do you agree with the president's rhetoric?
I wouldn't necessarily say Congress en masse is becoming more anti-Semitic. It's half of the Democratic Party that's become more anti-Semitic, the progressive wing, the anti-Jewish wing, the wing that didn't say anything about all the campus protests and the assaults that we saw here in the United States, and the ones who want to acknowledge and identify a Palestinian state with Hamas still in control. These are all serious problems that the Democratic Party is facing right now. And he is right in that sense. And I think a lot of the American people are seeing that. And a lot of the folks on the far left are living in an echo chamber thinking that their message is actually resonating when it is actually not. When they're the ones who were, they called Trump racist, yet they're the ones who are holding up swastikas and making all these anti-Semitic remarks and comments and displaying Jew hatred. It's pretty easy to see which side of history you want to be on.
Armin, we'll end with this, and that is all things surrounding real estate. And when it comes to real estate, what do they say? Location, location, location. In this case, I'm making reference to the East Wing. We now know that a new White House ballroom is expected to be finished by 2028, according to the National Park Service. Now, the project will have no significant impact on the historic grounds. However, many are still crying foul. I know you have been quite vocal about this, Armin.
Yeah, it's very important to be deliberate about this, and 3 years may sound like a long time, but they want to preserve all the historical artifacts that they possibly can. They're replanting trees. In addition, this isn't simply some office building. There are security measures that need to be put in place, reinforcement as well. There's a lot of upgrades that the building needed, water, power, because it's a very old building. Even the structure itself needed some repair. At some point, that it was going to need to be done, and Donald Trump is doing it out of his own pocket. And he's going to increase the size by 90,000 square feet in order to host events, which the White House couldn't previously do. You had to do it outside the lawn on a tent. So, there may be things to criticize the president on. This is not one of them. And frankly, it looks very petulant that the president is giving a gift to the American people. I'm excited to see what this is going to actually look like. And I think by the time it's done and it's being used by future presidents, I'll bet $1 to donuts. The next Democrat president is not going to wall off the East Wing of the White House and not use it.
Yeah, well, perhaps during that next inauguration, we'll see you here, right here in the nation's capital as well, for a visit. Armin Kurdian, U.S. Navy captain, retired, and political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. We always appreciate you, sir.
Great day, Guy.
Well, as 2025 comes to an end, what should America be thinking of after Donald Trump's first new year in the White House? Will he be viewed with favor as the affordability and peace president for sending the military into cities across the country, the tariffs, and unleashing ICE agents on immigrants? One political expert and historian knows how this presidency compares to others in the past. I'm making reference to Mr. Mike Bedenbaugh, a Navy veteran, historic expert, political analyst, and author of Reviving Our Republic. He now joins us right here on the Live Zone. Mike, always good to see you, sir. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here, as always.
All right, so the countdown is on, the countdown to 1 year of President Trump back in office. Let's reflect on that first year. Anything in particular stand out to you, sir?
Yes, it's a president who believes there's not checks and balances and not another branch of the government that's supposed to mitigate the excesses of another. I couldn't help but listen to the last concept about the gift of the ballroom that President Trump is giving. People have to remember, this is not his building to spend whatever money he wants on it without any other decision making. I used to own a rental apartment. I would not have allowed one of my renters just to change the structure just because they're in there at the time. So we might well have needed a ballroom, but there's a process that you go through to make any decision in a republic like ours. So I've been more astonished at the assumption that the republic is run by one person through power play instead of through a system of checks and balances like we're supposed to have. And that's the biggest takeaway I have.
You made mention of power play. With regard to power play, I would argue executive orders happens to be at the top of that list. And I'm curious, the executive orders we saw coming out of the Oval Office in 2025, was it needed or was it in vain?
No, they were show. It was all about television. And most of those executive orders are just opportunities for speech, and they really mean nothing, and they shouldn't. We have slippery slope, and this is not just about a Republican administration or about Donald Trump specifically. This is over the past 40 years, we have slippery sloped into where presidents just start giving executive orders that are actual legislation, laws, instead of just overseeing their responsibilities in the administration and the executive branch. And so he's gone way off and being very open about it. Others have done it and kind of hid it. Shame on us and shame on everybody for not calling it out when it happened. When Biden did it, when Obama did it, it should have been called out. Now it's not even pretend. And it's an opportunity for everybody in the nation to say, wait a minute, this is not how laws are to be made in this nation.
Yeah, Mike, just like you, I love history. Absolutely love it. I was watching a show on the History Channel the other day, and it surrounded George Washington. And it got me thinking, what would the founding fathers, if you will, think about the current administration and what President Trump has already enacted?
Well, if you read the farewell address of George Washington, you will read him describing the current administration and other administrations, but specifically the current administration, where one person has been able to utilize the powers of his office, the powers of his wealth, and the powers of persuasion to build a small basis of support around him personally instead of the overall government. And they would see that, and I wouldn't say they would recoil in horror, because they predicted this could happen, which is why they tried to put into checks and balances. But they would say, I told you so. And you got to get to work to put the balance right where it should be. Yeah. Because this is not the way the original republic was supposed to run.
Well, I have just a premonition that if that actually happened, President Trump perhaps might make mention of that cherry tree that was chopped down in order to strike back at Mr. Washington. But who knows?
Yeah, well, that was another myth created in the 19th century to try to create Washington as an icon of truth. You know, Washington had his quirks and foibles and his faults as well, but he was one of the leading political thinkers out of the Enlightenment, and we have a lot to learn from his words in his farewell address, which is what I utilized in my book to say why we should revive what they had created.
And that's exactly what we'll end with, Mike. In this case, why the country needs to restore a balance between state and federal powers.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we are a federal government, and our states have given up a lot of our responsibilities. Being from the South, I'm very sensitive to the concept of states' rights. I understand how that was abused. Strom Thurmond, all of these folks in the segregationists abused that term. But what I look at is the concept of state responsibilities, because rights are worthless if you don't have responsibility tied into them. And there are responsibilities that the states should take back on, so it's more localized to the community and culture of those states, instead of everything coming out of Washington and states begging for money from Washington to pay for services that actually the states should be paying for themselves.
Well said. Yet again, the name of the book, Reviving Our Republic, by the gentleman you see right there on your TV screen, Mr. Mike Beatonball, joining us right here on the Live Zone. I truly appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Anytime. Thank you, Guy. Take care.
You bet.
Merry Christmas.
And a Merry Christmas to you as well. We'll take a quick break, folks. On the flip side of that break, well, we'll focus on Prince George's County. The sheriff, if you will, John Carr, joins us next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, folks, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Time to go over the river and through the woods, in this case, to Prince George's County, where earlier this month, Sheriff John D.B. Carr announced re-election bid for Prince George's County Sheriff. He now joins us right here on the Live Zone. Sheriff, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, but of course, and obviously, we're discussing all things with regard to what's taking place in Prince George's County, specifically your re-election bid. And we know that throughout your first term, you really expanded the behavioral health unit to support residents experiencing mental health crises. When you think of that, I think of all the things that you could have focused on. This happens to be very important.
Yes, this is very important only because we understand that many of our issues are starting from behavioral health. Our citizens dealing with mental health issues, and we wanted to make sure that we're going to be there for them. Just not only in the beginning, but we also want to see that process through. The Prince George's County Office of the Sheriff is responsible for serving all of the emergency petition orders here in the county, and currently we're still averaging around 100 or so a month. And looking at that, coming into office, I wanted to make sure that we were able to provide wraparound services because we know mental health actually affects domestic violence. It affects dealing with our youth, our seniors. So we wanted to make sure that we would be more proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, but wait, there's more, as they say. You have also focused on public safety, and not only that, but community-focused initiatives. I make mention of that because I remember, I guess maybe 6 months ago or so, I took part in a community event. It was at a community center. And I look up and you're standing right in front of me. And you said, Guy, it was very important for me to show up and show out today because I wanted to let the community know that, yes, I'm here as well and I do care.
Yes, I was dealing with a fashion show for domestic violence. And it is very important with partnerships like Together We Can, Vision Quest, a lot of nonprofit organizations here in the county. I had to be there because I want our citizens to see me and our agency during those good moments. Not only when you call 911, but you really need to see us in the community. We're part of the community, and I want to make sure that you understand and that you see that, and that our men and women who serve them each and every day exhibit that type of behavior of actually being more proactive instead of reactive.
So, Sheriff Carr, there are a lot of folks watching right now. They're saying, hey, it sounds good, and hey, I've seen what he's done. Yet again, I'll give you the platform, sir. Why should one cast their vote for you with regard to re-election?
Well, the work is not done. There's a lot of things that we need to actually still improve upon. One, domestic violence has always been big. I want to eradicate domestic violence here in the county, and we're starting to work towards that. The second thing, as you made mention to, behavioral health. That has been a very key component in my platform. Then also working with our youth and our seniors. Actually coming in office, created a group called our Silver Circles, in which we work with our 55 plus community and with our youth, actually offering free STEM summer camp, working with the Prince George's County public school system, and then also with organizations like Mentor Through Athletics, in which we started several leagues. We've done a Midnight Basketball League, working with our faith-based community with the First Baptist Church of Glenarden. We've actually worked and had a volleyball camp working in Bladensburg. We've had soccer and flag football. So I really want our citizens to know that the work is not done. And I do want to make sure that we serve you as best as possible. So that's the reason why I'm running for re-election and moving things forward.
It helps perhaps to know that you now have the backing, as you always have, of County Executive Aisha Braveboy as well. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot to actually have a partner in government because I can't do this alone. And I've supported her in her run as county executive. And since she's been in office, she has actually united our public safety group. She was just with us during our food basket assistance program. And I just appreciate her leadership and what she wants to do in bringing our citizens to be more involved in government and to be as transparent as possible. And I just thank her for everything that she's done. And I look forward to our partnership in the future.
Yet again, we have been speaking with Sheriff John D.B. Carr, Prince George's County Sheriff, and well, he's hoping he'll get that vote from you yet again as he seeks re-election. Sir, it's always good to see you. Congratulations, and we'll chat soon right here on the Live Zone.
Always good to see you, and thank you again.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 12:30, yes, the bottom of the hour. Still following breaking news, which took place just about an hour and a half ago. Fox 5 has confirmed that D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser will announce Executive Assistant Chief Jeffery Carroll to be named interim police chief. Carroll now replacing outgoing Chief Pamela Smith, who announced her resignation earlier this month. We should make mention, Carroll started with the MPD back in 2002, now serving as Executive Assistant Chief of Specialized Operations. The mayor introducing Carroll at 1 o'clock. That's in just about a half an hour, and we'll carry that for you live right here on the Live Zone. Staying right here in the nation's capital, when it comes to D.C., for over 100 years, the Howard Theater has been let's just say a cornerstone of black culture and entertainment, a legendary space where communities gathered in unity. Now, they plan to have an event that will bring more, let's just say, shine to the Howard Theater. I'm referring to none other than the Winter White Wonder. Joining us to discuss that and so much more is producer Turk Stevens, right here on the Live Zone. Turk, always good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, man? How you doing, man? I wonder where Chris is. Chris is supposed to be joining us. He's out there on the golf course, man. I know he's trying to find a signal.
He's making mention, obviously, of Chris Spencer, comedian, writer, director, you name it, actor, the whole nine. Obviously, this event also hosted by our guy, hailing right here from the nation's capital, Lamont Rucker, that's going to be joining you as well. Turk, I think about the Howard Theater, and you heard me touch on it, and yet again, over 100 years of history. And to know that, well, there are so many venues throughout D.C. and the surrounding area, but when it comes to the Howard Theater, it's just so special, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about, yes, there are a lot of venues, but I don't know that many venues outside of a Ford Theater, that's had the kind of history that the Howard Theater has, especially when it comes to black culture. Before there was the Apollo Theater, there was the Howard Theater, in the early 1900s, and the Apollos was built in the 1930s. And what most people don't realize is that amateur night started here in Washington, D.C. at the Howard Theater, and then it moved to Harlem to the Apollo Theater. And most people don't know that. So historically, man, when you think about, Count Basie, you think about all the jazz legends, and then also Motown's first city on the Motown Review with a Motown tour, their very first tour, the first city was Howard Theater in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, gosh, just so much history. It was interesting, Turk. I was there, I guess, a month or two ago, and I sat there. I was doing something on stage, and as I looked down at the crowd, or out into the crowd, I should say, I just thought at one point, James Brown stood on this stage. The Jackson Five stood on this stage. It's a historic landmark. And to not only be in the building, but to get the opportunity to stand on the same stage where these greats once stood, it just brought chills to me.
Bringing it more, making it more contemporary, man. I was there the last night that Rare Essence performed before the theater closed. Me and my boy Sherman Mills, we were there, in Rare Essence in terms of go-go. Those that may not know, we were there the last night before it closed. It was the last performance, and I was there. So that is very meaningful for me as well. But what we want to do now is we want to continue that legacy outside of just the theater with the foundation. This is all about the Howard Theater Foundation, when we are able to work with young people within film, music, and theater, educating them and getting them to become, accredited producers in those industries there at that theater. That's the most important thing we want to build with the foundation.
Yeah. So now we're getting set for the shindig, as I like to call it. We're talking about the major event. This is set to take place. Let's go ahead and put up the flyer there, Producer Joey. Obviously, it's starring you along with Lamont Rucker. Can't forget about Chris Spencer. You see it right there on your TV screen. Saturday, December 27th at 8 p.m. You're calling it the Winter White Wonder. And so I guess I can assume you got to wear white.
Yes, I've always wanted to have something. When I decided to try to put this fundraiser together, I said I wanted to do something a little bit unique and different. And myself, Chris, and Lamont, I said I've always wanted to do a winter white event. So that's what we're putting together. And then I consulted with a couple of the sponsors, man. My boy J.R. Clark, A. Scott Bolden, and B. Doyle Mitchell. Those guys, man, with Industrial Bank, and Jeffrey and Reed Smith. I talked with them about it, man, and they thought it was a brilliant idea, man. And I can't forget about the chairman himself, man. Reggie Van Lee. So man, this Winter White affair, is something that you don't see. People try to tell you cannot wear white after Labor Day. We're going to defy that. We're going to make it unique. We want everybody to come and have a white outfit in the dead winter.
Yeah, well, Turk, I would argue when it comes to fashion, it's what you make it. You know, I don't care what anyone says.
I agree. I agree.
Now, you're going to have a number of surprise celebrity guests, a couple of musical performances. Can you give us a tidbit? Can you tell us something?
I will tell you this much. I won't tell you the surprises, but there is a group karaoke called Lyric and Party, man. They are incredible. And for the mature, grown, and sexy audience, Lyric and Party was something that was created, Natalie Powell out of Toronto, Canada, and they will be the mainstay. And then we're going to have some surprises. One of the things I like about this is that this is not driven by what celebrities and stars are going to be there. This is driven by the actual cause and the event. And I will assure you that I want to be able to say that, when you leave there, people are going to be like, man, this was incredible. This was something unique that we have never done before. We haven't participated before. And this is interactive. People will be able to participate in it, with this whole group karaoke and live performance and comedy. It's something that they haven't participated in a while. So I'm excited about this in this group setting. So I want everybody to go on to go to Miles of Winter White Wonder. Mile.com, Winter White Wonder, to get your tickets. We have VIP tickets and we have your general admission tickets. And I think it's going to be very exciting. And I assure you, those that will miss it is going to miss it. But if you can't make it, if you're in town and you can't make it, I please ask you to go to the same website and make a donation. That's the thing that's important, is giving us the sustainability, allowing people to be able to participate. And continue to grow the programming that we have set coming up this year in 2026. So if you're not able to buy it, you can't go. Make a donation, and no donation is too small. No amount is too small.
Yeah, I'm really happy with what you all are doing. Yet again, that is truly a historic venue. I think about Ben's Chili Bowl. I think about the Washington Monument. And I think about the Howard Theater. I'm serious. I mean, they can all go into the same sentence with regard to D.C. history, at least as of late.
That's true. And the big chair, right?
You can't forget about the big chair. Well, Turk, the only problem, pretty soon if we keep on going, we're going to say Mambo sauce. Okay, well then add in the Old Bay. Okay, I mean, we can go on and on.
That's so true. That is so true. So true, man. So true.
Well, good stuff. Well, I truly appreciate your time. Yet again, this is an event that you all want to check out. Set to get underway December 27th, right there at the Howard Theater. Yes, they call it the Winter White Wonder, benefiting the Howard Theater Foundation. We've been speaking with Turk, the producer of the entire shindig, yet again kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. I appreciate your time, my man.
Thank you for having me, Guy. I appreciate you, man, as always. Thank you so much.
No bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, hey, he's back. Yeah, fashion forward expert Matt Dillon. You see him right there. We're talking holiday fashion with him next on the Live Zone. Guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, I absolutely love it when this guy walks into the building. First of all, he is truly fashionable. Second of all, he's all about fashion forward. But most of all, he's all about the MD effect. Yes, I'm talking about the one thing only Mr. Matt Dillon joining us right here on the Live Zone. What's up, my man?
How are you? Happy holidays.
I gotta steal that.
It's yours, because I'm looking to get rid of the luggage on the way back to Miami, so anything is up for grabs. We got a cute. Let me just give you this one right
that
here.
Is awesome,
I'm
my
gonna give
man.
you something, and I'm gonna give you the full effect here, like I'm wrapped like a Christmas present.
It's the sweater as well. I mean,
come on now.
Come on, this guy never fails.
Come on now.
And that's how you do it. That's what I call fashionable in a major way.
This is the holiday spirit. I think the holidays is, especially after this year, is a good chance to really feel confident in your skin, really go with the grain of those Christmas colors, but really shake it up. And you'll see I bought 2 looks today that kind of give that shake-up vibe, that are not so traditional. I call it my Sharon Stone casino moment.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm also giving you a more demure meet the parent moment.
Oh, wow. Oh, I cannot wait for this.
You know.
You have been all over. As you know, I stalk you on Instagram.
I know, you never replied to my text. Gertie and I are very, just for the record.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Our Basel, Gertie and I invited you to something. Man, you up on that yacht live, honey.
It must be, yeah. It was nice. But for you, New York, and then you're headed back to Miami. But no matter where you go, Matt, fashion follows you. I wouldn't say, in essence, you follow fashion.
I've never followed fashion, and that's, I think, why my POV is so uniquely different. I could put something on that people are like, what in the heck is that guy wearing? I walked in here to Fox 5 this morning, and the security girl, I mean, I always bring such a different vibe to it, because it truly does make you happy.
Yeah.
I think this year's been a hot mess overall for community, for culture, and I really feel like making yourself feel happy first by how you look generates how you feel. I know that sounds kind of cornish to say,
no, I think it's real.
But it truly means when you decked out, you got your little pocket square, you're feeling good. You step outside into the bad world that it is. With one foot in front of the other, and I think that's what fashion does for me. And I love seeing people smile because it does have that permeating effect of like, oh, someone gonna stop you, give you the once over, and be like, oh, but you've created something with somebody that they're gonna go home to dinner. I saw this fly-looking boy.
Well, speaking of looking fly, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yes,
For the
sir.
holiday season, so you brought a couple of models, a couple of examples, if you will, of what one could, perhaps should wear when going to see mom or dad or stepping out on the town.
Stepping out in town, all right, let's have Hannah come in here. So when I say like a traditional cover, let's open up here. This is the traditional Christmassy green color, like the trees. So she's giving a homage to Christmas, but we're really playing it in here with when I say the Sharon Stone Casino. Faux fur, don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen, we're not playing that. But I love here, the cutouts here give that sensuality and sexuality of a woman. And this is kind of like that, if you're single, you're with your girlfriends, or you're on a date with your man and you don't have kids, like dress it up and have some fun. What I love about this, though, is we're really playing with two-tone jewelry here. So here is where we look in here. This is Adriana Pappas, adrianapappas.com. We've really followed the theme here of playing into that. Now, I don't know whether Hannah can give a shoe kick up, but let's show the slit a little bit. Bam.
Oh, wow.
Oh, honey,
the boots.
shorts here.
Wow.
So when I say, just because it's cold outside, Hannah said, I'm going to give you skin, I'm going to give you life, but we're going to wrap her up and make her feel comfortable and protected, really demure glam, bold lip, but this is, you know, she's the next DC housewife, I say. Bring it through.
I absolutely love
and
that.
today, I got to shout her out. What's your son's name, girl?
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe's 10 years old today, double digits, baby.
Happy birthday, Giuseppe. That's awesome.
But this is Sharon Stone
real quick,
Casino. What you
also,
got?
can you pull the coat back just a little bit?
Here we go.
What's going around the neck as well? It matches the coat.
We are in. So I'm eye for detail. It's always an eye for detail, and everything doesn't have to be overly expensive. This dress is from Zara, so it's literally under $100. Jewelry, accessorize everything. I think this is a time to really feel sexy and special with your loved ones. Now, we're going to say thank you, Hannah. Thank you. And we're going to bring in my favorite girl. Let's go meet the parents, girl. Come on. Come on. Now, we're meeting the parents.
That's doing it.
All right, we
go.
have met the parents here. Again, what I love about this is just the classic color. It feels like we might be going to church. But she's giving a really good Papa shoe here. Now, I'm not sure whether you can see the shoe.
Go ahead,
I'm going to hold
the camera
you.
down there.
Get it up.
There we go. There we go. Wow.
So Serena here is really giving that va-va-voom figure. But we're really kind of wrapping in ribbons and bows on the heel there. And keeping it very kind of demure and like, you know, it's the first time she's meeting her partner's parents. She's not nervous at all because she is together. She is gorgeous. I love that it's a classic print. This forever, eternally, like the rose viral clip. And then just pair it with a beautiful another necklace from adrianapappas.com. Now, what I'm loving about this, because baby, it's cold outside. But I like structure. We need structure for our ladies, correct? I think so. So here, it's not just like eating her alive. she's owning it. So we could taper it into her body here, but look at the way the shoulders are so structured here. So it's giving her a bit more shape as well. So it's like, obviously we want to bundle up and stay warm, but you want to look cool and a little cutting edge.
And what else, other thing, Matt, you know, this is DC, and what's home to DC? The cherry blossoms. And so it kind of gives me a hint of a cherry blossom, if you will.
I knew that. Wait, we discussed that, right? Yeah. On the Live Zone, you're learning things every day, honey.
But this is awesome.
But I think both of my girls here really are in such a different lane. But it's, again, each is having fun within the realm of the holidays. Because the holidays, we don't have to be so traditional. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I ain't about the ugly sweaters. Unless it's a Christmas party at Fox 5. I want to see Guy in an ugly sweater, don't you?
We did that yesterday. You missed it.
Oh, no! Pull the footage.
But, Matt, as we wrap up, there are a lot of folks watching right now, and they're saying that this looks great. Yeah, come on back in.
Come on, baby.
This
We
looks
got
great.
room. It's a party in Live Zone.
But is there somewhere in particular that someone can shop, let's just say the everyday person, that can make it look like this? And I know you made mention of Zara.
Okay, so in terms of brands, I say most people have access to a mall.
Yep.
So I would say if my brands are Zara, H&M, stay in that comfort level and build out on top of that. If you want to go above and beyond, obviously investment pieces, vintage. And I know there's a lot of great vintage in the DC area.
Wow.
I'm like, every time I'm here, I try to make it to a vintage store.
Yeah.
Buy a piece of vintage outerwear, perhaps, that really adds to an outfit.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is the year of both these looks under 150. And that's we can go skiing in them. We can go to the club in them. We can hit the Live Zone in them. Let's go, baby!
That's how we do. Real quick, folks that want to find out about you and or your podcast, because, by the way, millions of folks now listening and checking it out.
Baby, who knew? They want to listen to my sultry tones. You can follow me, Matt Dillon 1983, Instagram, of course, and mdeffect.com for all this fashion and Fashion Relate Pod. And once you're next in Miami, your ass need to be on my podcast.
I'll give him a call. I'll give him a call. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, sure.
He never lets me go with that. The one, the only, he's fashionable. He's Ford. It is all things fashion. Why? Because he is Mr. Matt Dillon, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Thank you, and thank you, ladies.
Thank you, girls.
Happy holidays, guys. All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Actually, I want to take you to Joint Base Andrews, where just seconds ago, President Trump boarded Air Force One. He's now headed to Dover Air Force Base this afternoon to, well, actually receive the bodies of 2 Iowa National Guard soldiers killed in Syria. The 2 were shot and killed last weekend, along with a civilian interpreter from Michigan, after a gunman attacked a security meeting. 3 other Guard soldiers were also injured. Yet again, President Trump now aboard Air Force One and headed to Dover Air Force Base. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, folks, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, you talk about a busy day. it's about to get even busier in a good way. In this case, we're talking star power. Joining us now live from, it appears to be, what is that, the golf course? Yes, writer, producer, director, actor, comedian, you name it, he's done it all. Chris Spencer joining us right here on the Live Zone. Chris, good to see you, my man. Welcome to the show.
What's happening? How you doing?
I'm good, brother.
You guys good?
Well, I'm not as good as you. I mean, the question is, first of all, before we jump into the interview, how you hitting them? Are you hitting them straight?
Well, as you can see, I'm over here by a tree, so that means my ball is not in the fairway.
Man.
I kind of hooked it a little bit.
Chris,
my problem is I tried too much stuff. I had a great swing, and then I watched YouTube on the way up here, and it told me to do something, and I shouldn't have done it.
Well, I've actually had the opportunity to hit the golf course with you before. I guess about a year and a half ago. It was you were taking part in a community event. We were out in L.A. Man, I got to tell you, you showed up and you showed out. That not only could you play, but brother, you were funny times 10. And
Thank you so much.
It made it so hard to hit the ball with me laughing constantly.
Listen, that is my trick to win the money.
Chris, you're going to be making your way right here to the nation's capital. We're talking about the Winter White Wonder, giving back in a major way, teaming up with Turk. We just had an opportunity to speak with him. Obviously, actor Lamont Rucker, hailing right here from the DMV.
Yes.
Why is it so important to you?
And Wisdom, don't forget Wisdom.
Oh, yeah, that's my guy as well.
Yeah.
But see, but Chris, put it back on me real quick, producer Joy.
Yeah.
He's on another TV station, so I can't shout him out.
Oh, I can't believe y'all cut him off the flyer. Oh my God, that's why we march. We march because of stuff like that.
So with that being, it's just like kind of how you miss the ball, you just miss it and keep on going, pretend like no one saw it.
It be your own people.
So Chris, talk about the importance of the Howard Theater to you and why you wanted to give back in a major way.
Well, here's what's crazy about the Howard Theater. Like, we all talk about the nostalgia and what we know about the Apollo, and I think it's become popular because of the TV shows, but the Howard Theater was actually doing things way before them. As a matter of fact, amateur night started off at the Howard Theater, and then the Apollo stole it. Oh, no, not stole it, but they borrowed it and didn't give it back.
Yeah.
And now we are here to take stuff back, because we're bringing entertainment to the Howard Theater quarterly, monthly. It's about to be fantastic. And this Winter Wonderland fantasticism is going to be incredible. And thanks to Turk Stevens, my boy Lamont Rucker, and that other dude whose name rhymes with Kisdom.
Oh, God.
We are about to have a blast.
Yet again, all set to get underway December 27th at the Howard Theater. If you haven't already got your tickets, what are you waiting for?
So
Chris,
let me explain what's going on. It's a party, it's a concert, it's comedy, and then we're doing group karaoke where the entire audience is going to be doing karaoke. It's something that's being done at other places around the country, and we're bringing it to D.C.
And with that,
I'm on a Zoom.
I'll let you get back to playing golf, my man.
They just mad because they're not going to be in D.C. partying with me on the 27th.
He needs no introduction. He's the man. Only thing that's missing happens to be me with him on the golf course. Chris Spencer joining us right here on the Live Zone. I truly appreciate that. Well, we go from one major event to another. In this case, I'm talking about, the big gala set to get underway this upcoming Friday. Spearheaded by the Prince George's County chapter of the 100 Black Men of America, it's an organization that really provides community empowerment programs based on 4 guiding mentoring pillars of education, health and wellness, economic empowerment, and leadership. Yes, it's giving back in a major way, and, the man here to tell us all about it, none other than Mr. Marquez Bell, president of the 100 Black Men Prince George's County. Good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Likewise, good to see you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you.
All right, so I want to make sure I have this clear here. Am I speaking with Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I know we had 2 people lined up, and so we got so much going on here. And then when you got to follow Chris Spencer, and I'm talking about me, that's a hard act to follow, of course. But in this case, you're bringing star power in a major way. And I am so excited about this. I mean, I follow you all on Instagram. And yes, we're going to talk about the gala in just a second and everything it means. But I want folks to understand what you all and that organization does day in and day out. Without you all, there would be so many folks that would have to look elsewhere for help. But you raised a flag, you came to the rescue, and you do it with regard to a number of programs, one of which happens to be 100 Pathways to Success. Do tell.
Sure. So our Pathways to Success is a program that we are tailoring towards our high school students, right? So we have to split it up a little bit because we have just on our first and third Saturdays 100 mentees in that program. And so Pathways to Success gears them towards economic empowerment as well as entrepreneurship. So we are trying to make sure our young people are both college and are career ready. So in Pathways to Success, they're exposed to best practices in business that leads them to doing a major Shark Tank competition. We give out right now about 15,000 is going to go out to the teams in that competition.
Yeah, I love this. And yet again, the proof is in the pudding. You know, so many organizations, and I'm not going to dump on someone else, but they talk the talk but don't walk the walk. That's not the case with 100 Black men of Prince George's County. You all also focus on something that is so important, financial literacy. And yet again, I could raise my hand and say, you know what? I didn't understand how important that credit score happened to be when I was younger. You all make sure that's not the case.
Absolutely. So, for example, this weekend before last, we had with our younger people, they did this game where they were each representing a possible bill, whether it is your cell phone bill, your car note, your mortgage. And so they played musical chairs to see which bill was going to get paid. And what ended up getting paid was the cell phone while the heat got cut off, right? And so that's showing them that you have to make decisions in what's necessary as opposed to what are nice to haves. So we start with our younger people and making sure they understand those things. And then from there, we work with Wells Fargo to do an investment challenge where we took some of our young people to the New York Stock Exchange a couple of months ago, actually, so they can see how business is done. So we want to make sure they're understanding finances, certainly, and their families as well. We are doing programs to make sure that their parents are able to become first-time home buyers, things of that nature also.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the big event set to get underway this upcoming Friday. It's dubbed Home for the Holidays. This is a gala unlike any other. And I should say, full disclosure, I happen to be emceeing it, and I cannot wait. What's to be expected? It's taking place at Martin's Crosswinds. When I walk through the doors, Mr. Ball, what am I going to be surrounded by? What am I going to see?
You're going to be surrounded by gorgeous Prince George's. You're going to be surrounded by the best and the brightest of Prince George's County. We have about 900 people who are going to be in this place in their formal attire. But then you're going to also see an experience where we can have a great time for a great cause. This is one where you're going to see people that you've seen before. You're going to take your selfies. Various organizations are going to be represented there, and understand that this gala aids in our being able to give out 30 or 40,000 in scholarships in the spring. And so this is a great cause for us to honor certain people who are doing great things in the community or around the country. But then in doing that, we are able to plan for the future of our programs.
Yeah, the great news about this, and typically it's not great when I can't say you can't buy a ticket, but that's great. Why? Because that means you're sold out.
Yes. We sold out a month in advance. And so as a heads up, whenever we do an event in the future, make sure you plan to be there. So tickets went on sale October 1, and by December 1, they were all gone. So we're looking forward to, by November 1, they were all gone. So we're looking forward to having a phenomenal time.
Yeah, I am yet again so excited about this and wanted to commend you all for the great work that you do. You know, so many times there's a negative light shined on those that perhaps aren't doing well. Well, not only are you doing well, you're doing better than well, you're doing great. And that light, that positive light, needs to shine on you and your organization. If folks can't make it, but yet they still want to contribute, perhaps donate, how would one go about to do so?
100%. 100princegeorges.org, 100princegeorges.org. And I will tell you now that our spring event is coming, our community brunch. It's going to be April the 11th. And so 100princegeorges.org, you can learn about that by going to 100princegeorges.org/brunch to prepare for April 11th. It's limited seating, only 500 for that. But we love the support of the community. We are here to give back to the community in a major way. So thank you so much for those who are already donating to support us.
You bet. Yet again, we've been speaking with Marquez Ball, president of the 100 Black Men of Prince George's County. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Congratulations, and I'll see you Friday.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. Hey, at the top of the hour, which is right now when we come back, Saida Abbas joins us. The latest with a new interim police chief being named right here in the nation's capital. The National Guard told that they could stay here in D.C., and Mayor Bowser expected to introduce the new police chief. All that and more coming up next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, folks, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 2 minutes past the bottom of the hour. Any minute now, we are expecting D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to approach that podium right there. And just what does she plan to do? Well, she plans to announce the new interim D.C. police chief. Saida Abbas joining us now with the latest.
Absolutely. Interim police chief, we want to make that clear, Jeffery Carroll. So that is temporary, and it's happening because the current chief is stepping down, like we discussed earlier, Chief Pamela Smith. She said she's leaving at the end of the year, and that is going to happen really soon. So the timing matters here. It comes after serious allegations, Guy. A congressional report claiming crime data inside MPD may have been manipulated, meaning some crimes were allegedly downgraded or reclassified so they wouldn't show up in public crime stats. Now, the report says commanders felt pressure, and according to testimony, senior officers said crimes had to be approved by the chief's office before being officially counted, and some serious crimes were allegedly changed into lesser categories that don't appear in public data. Smith, she strongly denies this. Now, she's saying she did not manipulate crime numbers and says she would hold anyone accountable if wrongdoing happened. So she is a longtime, Carroll actually is a longtime insider. Jeffery Carroll has been with MPD since 2002 and currently runs day-to-day operations. So this is more about continuity and stability, and it's not a dramatic outside shakeup.
Yeah, yet again, that announcement set to get underway any minute now. Earlier today, we got a chance to speak with Arif Halaby. He spent 11 years with the LA Police Department, happens to be a law enforcement expert. I posed the question to him, what does the mayor need to look for in a police chief? Here's that conversation. Spent nearly 11 years on the force. Arif Halaby back here on the Live Zone. Arif, always good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the show.
Great to see you, Guy. How are you?
I'm good. This is big news right here in the nation's capital. We now know that Jeffery Carroll will be named the interim police chief. And obviously, the big question that most will have, when you become a leader of a police force in a big city, specifically right here in D.C., let's talk about the attributes needed in order to do so.
Yeah, ever since the defund the police movement and the Black Lives Matter movement that really kind of put police in the wrong light, as you would say, a broad brush and really swept them under the rug. The attitude, the morale of the Los Angeles Police Department, Chicago Police, New York, all big agencies really began to suffer. So leadership is key. If Chief Carroll has the respect of the men and women, the rank and file, I think he'll have a good shot at having a great tenure. The difference is, in a lot of these agencies, they are now political appointees. We call that normal. It is not normal and didn't used to even be accepted when the police chief was appointed by the mayor, because then the police chief wouldn't investigate the mayor, wouldn't investigate the mayor's friends. That was kind of the old political, 1-2 shuffle here. So today, most agencies now fall into that as a political appointee. So the independence of the chief of police is going to be difficult, but certainly rank and file, in my opinion, is the best measure of success.
Arif, the naming of the interim police chief comes with the backdrop of controversy, if you will. We know a new congressional report alleges that MPD Police Chief Pamela Smith pressured commanders to manipulate crime stats to make crime appear lower. Now, before we talk, we're going to get that response from Arif yet again, that interview I conducted earlier. But let's go ahead and bring up the podium, if you will, producer Joey, where we are expecting D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to make her way. You can see a lot of activity there. Obviously, this is the big story of the day, the big story of the hour, as we now know that Fox 5 can confirm that D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser will announce Executive Assistant Chief Jeffery Carroll to be named interim police chief. Carroll yet again replacing outgoing chief Pamela Smith, who announced her resignation earlier this month. What's really interesting is that he started with the MPD back in 2002, now serving as executive assistant chief of specialized operations, something yet again you will hear me make mention of with regard to Arif Halaby. When I conducted that interview, I can tell you, the mayor, just minutes prior to my interview with Arif, well, she had a number of things to say about police chief, in which she, well, for the most part, congratulated her and said she was proud to work with her. Let's take a look.
Of Chief Pamela Smith in the entire workforce at MPD. Give them a big round of applause.
So there you have it. The mayor stating that she is proud of the current police chief. And yet again, going back to the report alleging that she pressured commanders to manipulate crime data stats. As a former police officer, first of all, how easy is that to do? And would one go about to do it if pressured?
Yeah, when I was a recruiting officer for LAPD, or I taught at the police academy, or when I did undercover work, all of those different assignments led me to one thing and one thing only, and that is that when you have a political appointee as chief, it's in everybody's best interest up and down the food chain to make sure that crime stats are kept at a minimum. We saw this happen over and over again when the federal government, in this case President Trump, really pressure cities into making a difference in their crime statistics. In other words, improving it. So does it surprise me? Not at all. Do I think it happened? I would probably bet my left arm on it.
All right. Yet again, the breaking news that Jeffery Carroll will be named the interim police chief. That will take place at 1 p.m., conducted by D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. We know that Carroll has been responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the police department, and Smith assigned him to the executive assistant chief position back in 2023. Clearly, Arif, they have a relationship here. Do you think that played a part, a role, if you will, with him being named the interim police chief?
I think so, and you're going to also see an input, I hope, from the police union or the workers that are on the street, the men and women on the street. Because the officers on the street, if they don't respect their chief of police, they're not going to work for him or her. They're not going to perform. And just the morale is bad. You know, at any workforce, it doesn't matter where you work, at your station, at my company, or IBM, it doesn't matter. If the workforce is not in a good state of mind, if they don't respect leadership, then you're going to see a problem. My sources are telling me that Jeffery Carroll is a respected leader, And you're going to see over and over again the men and women support him in his role. Certainly there are a few outliers, people that don't like him, but that's expected in any leadership. It's just the propensity of the group should respect and like him.
Yeah, we also know that yet again he happens to be somewhat of a hometown hero, if you will, attended Towson University, GW as well. Can you speak to that? How important is it for someone to, in essence, be homegrown and then named the interim police chief?
Yeah, the city of Los Angeles is working through that right now with a foreign guy from out of...
All right, we'll actually cut it right there. But that was my conversation earlier today with Mr. Arif Halaby, who joined us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. As yet again, we are awaiting any minute now for D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to introduce Jeffery Carroll as the interim police chief. We saw a little bit of activity taking place there a minute ago, so we expect the mayor to make her way to that podium. When that happens, we'll take you there live right here on the Live Zone. Speaking of live, well, it's all the way live on Capitol Hill. That's where lawmakers now debating as to whether or not to move forward and or agree with regard to health care subsidies. A vote will be cast today, and lawmakers currently on the House floor stating as to why you should vote yay or nay. Let's take a live look in.
It was not that long ago where I saw multiple overdoses every single night, during a time where we had over 100,000 deaths per year in the United States, far more civilian casualties than any war we've ever experienced in the history of the United States. That is an average of well over 250 deaths per day. Imagine the worst mass shooting we've ever had. Multiply that times 5 times a day for every day during the year for 3 years running. That's what we're dealing with. That's the emergency we have. That is an emergency. This opioid crisis is fundamentally different from any past drug epidemic. These substances are engineered to be highly lethal. The amount that you could fit on a pinhead could kill a person. Unknown exposure, just from somebody coming to assist somebody, could kill somebody. These are weapons of mass destruction, and it's different from anything we've ever experienced in the history of the United States or the world for that matter. If a foreign actor released a chemical agent that killed tens of thousands of Americans, the response would be immediate, unified, and decisive. We can and must act immediately to save American lives. This is not unprecedented. Every president in my lifetime, in my adult lifetime, has used the military to this end, to protect the United States people, which is the president's first and most important charge as president. And therefore, I continue to have strong opposition to this resolution, and with that, I yield.
Mr. Speaker, I don't quite reserve yet. I would let the next speaker on the other side know that they lost 116. Ms. Kamlager-Dove had 116 overdoses in the last year, and I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 individuals killed recently by MS-13. President is working to protect her district from MS-13. I yield.
Gentleman from Florida reserves. Gentleman from New York is recognized.
I'm still waiting to hear why major drug dealers, 2 major drug dealers, were pardoned by the President of the United States. I'll wait. Nothing. I'll yield 1.5 minutes to the gentlewoman from California, the ranking member on the Subcommittee on South and Central Asia, Representative Sidney Kamlager-Dove.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this resolution to stop the administration's illegal and ridiculous boat strikes. It is hard to overstate how pointless and performative these strikes really are. The administration is trying to sell their military kill campaign by saying they're targeting drug traffickers who are selling fentanyl and hurting Americans. Fact. Fentanyl and fentanyl precursors do not come to the United States through Caribbean sea routes. Fact, the drug boats that the administration are blowing up are mostly carrying cocaine to Europe. Fact, President Trump just pardoned known Honduran cocaine kingpin. Fact, most smugglers that bring drugs into the country are U.S. citizens. Fact, the real national security threat is selling our AI chips to China, not blowing up fishermen. American taxpayers are spending millions of dollars to stop the Europeans from partying. So what is in it for us? Normalization of extrajudicial killings, a total lack of due process, evidence, or congressional authorization. We need to stop this madness. I authorize, urge, tell Just telling my colleagues to support this resolution, and I yield back.
The gentleman from New York reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, the chairman of the National Security, Department of State, and Related Agencies Appropriations Subcommittee, Mr. Mario Diaz-Balart.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I strongly oppose this resolution, which limits the United States' ability to fight narco-terrorist traffickers in our own hemisphere, where we are most directly impacted. I just heard from the distinguished woman that these are fishermen. These are fishermen in these boats. Really? I guess we're supposed to not believe our own eyes when we see these boats loaded with narcotics coming to the United States and going to other countries. These are narco-terrorists that have been killing Americans by the thousands every single year through their poison. It's about time that we have a president who is taking the murdering and the poisoning of our youth seriously. So literally, Mr. Speaker, every time one of these narco boats is removed from the water, it literally is saving thousands of American lives. So let me refresh everybody's memory who we're dealing with and who the President and the United States is going after. They're going after narco-terrorist organizations such as Tren de Aragua, El Cartel de los Soles, Clan del Golfo, and MS-13, just to mention some of these dangerous cartels that kidnap and they maim and they poison our youth. And let's put it in perspective, Mr. Speaker. More Americans have died because of these narco cartels that are poisoning our youth than Americans we lost in World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and Korea. They're staggering numbers. These cartels are responsible for the loss of lives of more Americans than ISIS and Al-Qaeda combined. These are terrorist organizations that are responsible for the death of our people. And I just also heard, upset about pressuring Maduro. President Maduro. Maduro is not a president. He's the head of a narco cartel that has taken over by force and by terror a great country, the country of Venezuela. This is a man who's under indictment. Let's vote this down and let's protect the American people and let's not defend the narco cartel drugs that are poisoning our people. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Florida reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Maybe the gentleman who's from the National Security can tell me, since the chairman can't, can tell me why the President of the United States pardoned a narco-terrorist and the former President of Honduras. Maybe you can tell me why. I'm trying to get an answer. Nothing? You walking out? You got an answer for me? Why would the President of the United States pardon a convicted drug dealer, over 400 million tons, killing Americans? I got nothing. I now yield 1.5 minutes to the gentlewoman from Washington, the esteemed member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Pramila Jayapal.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of this measure to rein in President Trump's unlawful boat strikes. These strikes and Trump's naval blockade represent appalling violations of international law and Congress's constitutional authority to authorize the use of military force. Drug trafficking is a serious offense. Communities across the United States have seen the devastating impacts of addiction, but that does not give Donald Trump the right to go to war, to deploy military forces without congressional authority, to kill anyone against the laws of war. Drug trafficking cases should be handled in a courtroom. And listen, the majority's entire argument that this was so serious it required action without congressional approval is completely destroyed when the president himself just pardoned the former Honduran president who has been convicted by an American jury for moving about a drug trafficking scheme that moved about 4.5 billion doses of cocaine into the United States. Give me a break. It doesn't pass the laugh test. And by the way, if Donald Trump were serious about addressing the opioid epidemic, he would not have cut Medicaid funding. He would not have frozen $8 billion in funding for drug abuse and addiction. We have seen the disastrous impacts of attempted regime change in Latin America. The American people do not want another forever war. Vote yes on this resolution.
Gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from New York reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
And I would let Ms. Jayapal know that in her district, they've lost 237 people in the last year from overdose and had a number of people killed by MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, the president who's working to protect their people. And I'm now proud to yield 3 minutes to the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Mr. Rogers of Alabama.
I thank the gentleman is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank the gentleman for yielding. I rise in strong opposition to this resolution. For decades, violent drug cartels have ravaged American communities. They've flooded our streets with deadly narcotics, and they've destabilized our hemisphere, creating openings for malign influence from China, Russia, and Iran. And year after year, they've killed thousands of Americans. We decided long ago that we would not tolerate threats to the American people from terrorists like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. We shouldn't tolerate it from narco-terrorists either. Yesterday, the U.S. House of Representatives received a detailed briefing from the administration on Operation Southern Spear. We heard directly from Secretary Rubio, Secretary Hegseth, and General Kane. Their message was clear. Narco-terrorists are the single greatest threat in the Western Hemisphere. President Trump is acting decisively, lawfully, and within his authority as Commander-in-Chief. Our military is targeting known drug smuggling boats loaded with drugs and moving along well-established trafficking routes. Every strike is based on rigorous intelligence linking those boats to well-known narco-terrorists. Every strike undergoes a comprehensive legal review and complies with defined rules of engagement to ensure innocent civilians are not involved. The Armed Services Committee is notified of every strike and has been briefed on this operation several times. These strikes are lawful under U.S. law and international laws, and all actions are in compliance with the law of armed conflict. But most importantly, these strikes have dramatically reduced drug smuggling operations. Bottom line, Americans are safer today because of President Trump's actions. Let's not return to the old, failed playbook of treating our counterterrorist mission solely as a law enforcement matter. We tried that for decades, and it didn't work. It cost hundreds of thousands of American lives. I urge my colleagues to join me in protecting Americans by opposing this resolution, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Florida reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
And again, I could offer the chairman, Mr. Rogers, the opportunity to tell me why the president pardoned these drug dealers. And I would also ask the chairman, I'm proud of this institution and who we are.
All right, folks, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, you have been watching lawmakers obviously debate a plethora of topics on the House floor. We will continue to monitor that. However, I want to bring you up to speed to what took place at Brown University. Authorities there hunting for the perpetrator of the deadly mass shooting at Brown University after sifting hundreds of tips and taking DNA swabs after releasing a new photo and enhanced video in video timeline of a person of interest in the hours before Saturday's attack. Now, what you're looking at right here, investigators are stating that they are now seeking an individual shown in this picture, this actual picture that happens to be in proximity of the person of interest. So this is a new picture, and so obviously take a close look at this as police yet again stating that this person was in proximity of the person of interest. Authorities releasing this picture frame just minutes ago. Obviously, the perpetrator remains at large, and police continue to hunt for that person. We'll bring you back here to the nation's capital. Let's bring it up full screen, where any minute now, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is expected to walk up to that podium and announce Executive Assistant Chief Jeffery Carroll to be named the interim police chief. Carroll is replacing outgoing Chief Pamela Smith, who announced her resignation earlier this month. Now, he started with MPD in 2002, now serving as Executive Assistant Chief of Specialized Operations. This was due to get underway at 1 o'clock, but obviously, as is the case typically with any press conference, it takes some time to get set up. And when the mayor makes her way to the podium, we'll take it live here on the Live Zone. In the meantime, we'll take you back to the House floor, where yet again, lawmakers debating a plethora of topics, including health care subsidies. You're watching the
president who touts himself as a global peacemaker has appointed himself as judge, jury, and executioner in the Western Hemisphere. This brutal military campaign, which has killed more than 90 people, further threatens a region that has already been destabilized by decades of U.S. intervention. And it risks driving us into further war in Venezuela. The American people across the political spectrum have been clear that they do not want to fight and fund another war. With this vote, every member of Congress has the chance to show the American people where they stand. Will they enable Trump's illegal lawmaking, or will they stand on the side of the Constitution? Stand on the side of the Constitution and put an end to this unauthorized use of military force. I urge all of my colleagues to uphold the separation of powers and pass this resolution. I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from New York reserves. Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the president. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would let Representative Omar know that in her district she lost 205 people in the last year from overdose and have had people killed by MS-13, teenagers killed by MS-13. The president is working to stop that from happening. And I would also remind the ranking member that just yesterday, he should know this, he was standing on stage with me. We had a classified briefing with the Secretary of War and the Secretary of State. His comments afterwards did not reflect the truth of what was said, but he was there. I am now pleased to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Jimenez.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise today in strong opposition to resolution number 61. This resolution would prohibit the President of the United States from using all the tools at his disposal in the fight against designated terrorist organizations in the Western Hemisphere. These are the same narco-terrorists who are waging and have been waging a war on the American people through the use of deadly drugs and poison that are flooding into our country. Let's talk about reality, not about rhetoric. First of all, the number one job of any government is to protect its people. Since September 11, 2001, roughly 4,000 Americans have been killed inside the United States, either by al-Qaeda, ISIS, and similarly ideologically linked terrorist groups. Meanwhile, since 2021, and I'm not talking back to 2001, nearly 400,000 Americans have died from overdose poisoning. Deaths fueled by foreign terrorist organizations, including the Venezuelan regime, and violent cartels operating in our own backyard. That 400,000 is about the size of my native city, Miami. So this is, in reality, a weapon of mass destruction. Yet here we are, debating whether to retreat from fighting terrorists in our own hemisphere while continuing to fight them halfway around the world. I've spent my life in public safety. I have seen what happens when you hesitate, when you retreat, when you take your foot off the gas. People die, families are destroyed, and communities suffer. This resolution does nothing to promote peace. It invites danger. It continued chaos and the loss of more American lives. It tells terrorists and cartels the United States Congress is willing to tie the hands.
Yet again, you have been watching all arguments taking place on the House floor here in the nation's capital. Let's take you to the state of Georgia, where Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, sitting next to her attorney, testifying before a state Senate committee. That panel was created to investigate her actions in the criminal case she brought against President Trump. Let's take a live look in.
What did happen was I provided documents to Jim Jordan.
Do you know if federal grant uses and sources and details that was requested by Mr. Grassley would have been captured in what you provided to Mr. Jordan?
Have no idea. This is a large office. It's not a rural office. I have a grant team.
So if we request these documents, you'd be willing to provide them to the committee?
Whatever's been provided is what I was willing to provide.
Okay. you say that one more time?
I went to Washington on the Jim Jordan twice, and they not only did they have all the documents, they sent another team of auditors down, and they said everything's correct.
I just passed a federal DOJ audit this week.
The Fulton County Ethics Code was amended in April of '24 to clarify that it includes elected officials. Is that your understanding?
I have no idea what Fulton County did.
That wouldn't apply to her.
Yeah, I'm not a county elected official. I'm a state.
She's a state elected.
Right.
Okay, so your position would be that the county ethics code, anti-nepotism code that they updated to include elected officials, when they expanded that, would include you. That would be
There's
your position.
county electeds and there's a state elected. I am a state elected.
Okay.
I represent the Atlanta Judicial Circuit.
Does PAC have any sort of model language around either your office to use or any sort of anti-nepotism
You have to ask
language? Are you aware of
I'm not.
anything that PAC has provided? Can you provide the committee with any sort of internal ethics guidelines that you have, as well as any sort of anti-nepotism policy that your office has in writing?
That's the thing that we'll consider and decide whether it's relevant to the inquiry or whether it's privileged or whether you've already received.
Okay. Does an internal ethics policy exist in writing?
You know, you mentioned companies, and, you know, it's interesting because I also saw where you posted where it's always Fulton County. But the truth is, you have a company that you've listed on your disclosures for finances, and that company stole millions of dollars from Fulton. If you want to look at ethics, you might want to look at that.
Does your office have any sort of internal
The company's name is Teletrax, in case
ethics?
anyone thinks I'm making this up. And people died because that company did not provide the services that they purported to provide.
Does your office have an internal ethics policy that's in writing?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. I want to lastly just ask a couple of questions about the Open Records Act.
Let me tell you something. I have a 92% conviction rate and a 92% clearance rate with open records. From January of 24 till November 30th of 2025, I've gotten over 1,600 open records requests. This ain't a rural town.
Say that number again. I'm sorry.
Over 1,600. And we have cleared 92%. Now, it should be noted that in 24, people were abusing the open records thing. Ms. Merchant, as you mentioned, over 30 requests for open records. Lots of people were abusing it. And it troubles me that in 25, I have to now start charging people for open records because I realize people will abuse it. But 92% of the open records requested, we have cleared.
Can you define cleared? What do you mean when we say cleared?
They've asked for documents and we've given them to them.
Okay. And you mentioned you're now having to charge an hourly rate. There were no hourly rates.
Not from January 1st of 2021. That was a novel idea a young, naive, new district attorney did. I thought that I could provide documents, or I wanted to have transparency. I wanted to be able to communicate with the public, and I wanted indigent people as well as rich people to be able, if they had something, to give it to them. What I didn't know is that there were a lot of evil people that would abuse that to make up lies.
Can you clarify for me? You said you started charging just earlier this year?
January of 2025.
Okay.
But I don't take in those funds. I have Ms. Whitmore do that.
Prior to your getting sworn in, did your office charge for open records requests?
I believe the prior DA did charge for open records, but, you know, when you become the new DA, you have new ideas. One of my new ideas was I wanted to offer this level of transparency to my constituents. It was abused by people all over the country.
You referenced certain individuals abusing the process.
Absolutely.
When you said 30, just to take the example of Ms. Merchant, just since she has been before the committee, you said she filed 30 open records requests? In what period?
More than 30. It was 30 it was a little bit in excess of 30. Yes, I did say that.
Over what period of time?
I don't remember.
Generally speaking, in kind of the scope of the
I don't remember, so
case
I'm
of
not
the
going to
election.
speculate.
Okay. But in your opinion, what should...
She also came in here and testified that I diverted money from my homicide backlog. I cleared my homicide backlog, all of it. Didn't divert any money. People came in here and lied to you. You should be upset about that.
As you think through the law, the open records law currently is unlimited, right? Somebody can...
I think if you want a new open records law, you should make the legislature have to answer open records. That would be my recommendation for a new law.
I would vote for that as well, but let me just get your, I just want to get your opinion on the scope and how you would limit that, how you determine abuse versus non-abuse.
How I would limit open records? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, if you were to take an extreme case, right, if you say 30, I think...
I don't think that district attorneys should actually be subject to the open records, but if they are subject to the open records, obviously attorney work product should not be subject to it. Only cases that are, completely closed, and I mean closed past the habeas, you should have to give.
Help me understand why you don't think you should be subject to open records. I would agree with you that the General Assembly should be.
Judges are not subject to open records.
Do you think they should be?
Did I think judges should be subject to it? Not their work product, because judges also have work product. But I think they should be akin to DAs.
And do you think DAs should be akin to the legislature, or you think that the legislature should be akin to a county commissioner?
I don't know that I understand your question, but I think that you should be subject to open records. I think that you're making laws that are supposed to be in the benefit of the community, as opposed to this day where we're wasting a lot of time, where me and my staff could be keeping the community safe, but I'm here to do this song and dance with you. The reality is I brought forth an indictment because people came in my county, they committed a crime, and they got charged. They didn't get charged because of their race. They didn't get charged because of their political party. They got charged because they came in my community and committed a crime, and 2 grand juries passed forth an indictment. And this is what you should know. I don't care how many times they threatened me. I don't care that they've threatened my family. Actually, just yesterday, I went home, and the Department of Justice sent me a letter about another person that they are prosecuting, and that I can come in January because this person swatted my home as well as the home of other public officials. This has to stop. What you all need to do is to pass laws to allow jobs to do them safely. What happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene? It's horrible. That she had to quit her job because they were bomb threats to her house and threatening her children. But she didn't care when it was me. She didn't care when my children were threatened. She didn't care that I haven't had the ability to live in my house. But I'm a better human being than that. I don't want any of your lives threatened. I may not care for you personally. I may not believe in your politics. I may think that today is nothing but more than evil and you trying to get yourself elected. All of that being said, I don't think anyone should threaten you and your family. And I think if you're here to protect, you ought to establish laws that if someone uses hate speech and that creates an environment where people like myself are threatened doing their job, we ought to do something about it in Georgia.
Just a couple more quick questions on the open records law. Thoughts on it. And it doesn't, and I think it is a challenge to get to this concept of what is abuse and what is not abuse. As it relates to Ms. Merchant, though, the court seemed to indicate that
the court indicated that a CFO would not be in the weeds, as I was not. And we gave Ms. Merchant many, many documents, and she abused it. So if you look at what they said, the court said that the CFO, which is what I am of the district attorney's office, I wouldn't be involved in the weeds. What I know is that when you have 1,600 people requesting, we do the very best we can. What's a shame is because we had people abusive, I now have 3 attorneys working on open records, 2 master level peoples and an employees. None of those people are doing the work that I care about. What I care about is getting gangsters off my street. What I care about is getting people that sexually assault children. I don't hang out with human traffickers or the victims. I care about representing people that are trafficked. Like, we've got problems here in Georgia. They're real problems. This is a major metropolitan city, and I'm standing on the line here trying to keep people safe, and y'all have me in here with this foolishness. I indicted them. I'm indict them again if they committed a crime in my jurisdiction. I don't care if you like it. It's not 1948. No, let me get to this. It's not 1948. I know that you're offended that
I didn't. So here's the question. what I was asking was, and I didn't get there. The court essentially found that Ms. Merchant was treated differently than other people making open records requests. You're correct. It did find that you were not in the weeds on dealing with that. What I'm curious about in response to the court case, have there been any internal changes with how you handle?
I now have 3 lawyers on open records, 2 master level people, and an assistant. That was the change.
Okay, so
I had to waste more resources to not do the main thing. So you want something else?
All right, yet again, you've been listening to Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis. We're going to take you back here to Washington, D.C., where D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser now introducing the interim police chief.
We are here in City Hall, where I will be naming an interim chief of police. I'm joined by Deputy Mayor Lindsay Appiah, and I am joined by Executive Assistant Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Jeffery Carroll. As you know, just over a week ago, Chief Pamela Smith indicated to me that she would be stepping down by the end of the year. And today I am proud to announce that Jeff Carroll, a 21-year veteran of the Metropolitan Police Department, will be the interim chief of the Metropolitan Police Department. Let's hear it for Jeff. As I mentioned, Chief Carroll has been at MPD more than 20 years. He joined MPD in 2002 and has risen through the ranks, and I'm sure he's going to describe to you the many responsibilities he's been entrusted with during his tenure. He became a commander, for example, in 2016. It was assigned to the Department's Special Operations Division. He has led our city through some of the most significant public safety challenges in the past decade, and he has overseen some of our other special moments like the World Series and Stanley Cup operations, and he was a very significant part of our city's ability to respond to January 6th. We look forward to him leading us through more good events in the city. And Chief Carroll is also very familiar with D.C. residents in our neighborhood as a respected and trusted, and he is respected and trusted by members of the Metropolitan Police Department, as well as our partners throughout the region. And Jeff will tell a story, but he grew up in this region in Calvert County and grew up with family members also serving in MPD. In fact, he had an uncle who also led SOD. And I know that he is the right person to build on the momentum of the past 2 years so that we will continue to drive down crime in the city. The department has been through an incredibly challenging year, and that's on top of the day-to-day challenges that our men and women of MPD face every single day to keep our city safe. But I know this, we have the best department in the nation. MPD is the best in the business at both community policing and handling large-scale special events and First Amendment activities. And that's where I want to keep our focus. I'll be focused on making sure we have the right policy environment to attract and retain more officers and to ensure our officers have what they need to be effective. And I am confident that Chief Carroll is the right leader to meet this moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jeffery Carroll.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the Metropolitan Police Department, distinguished guests, and members of our community. Thank you for being here today. I'm deeply honored and sincerely grateful for the trust you placed in me. First and foremost, Mayor, thank you for selecting me to serve as the interim chief of police. I don't take this responsibility lightly. Your confidence in me is both humbling and motivating, as I'm committed to leading this department with integrity, transparency, and a strong sense of duty to the people that we serve. I appreciate your leadership and your continued support of the Metropolitan Police Department. Public safety is not the responsibility of one individual or one department. It's a shared effort. I look forward to working closely with the community, all of our district agencies and city leaders to keep the district safe, strong, and united. To the women and men of the Metropolitan Police Department, thank you. Your dedication, professionalism, and sacrifice do not go unnoticed. Every day you put on the uniform, knowing the challenges and risks that come with it. Yet you continue to serve with courage and commitment, whether responding to 911 calls, engaging with residents, interacting with the youth, or working behind the scenes. You are the backbone of the department and a vital part of this community. I'm proud to stand along beside you. I know the long hours you work, the difficult decisions you face, and the personal sacrifices you and your families make. As interim chief, my priority will be to support you, to listen to you, and to ensure that you have the tools, training, and leadership you need to succeed. To our community members, thank you for your trust and partnership. Policing works best when there is mutual respect and open communication. I'm committed to continue to build strong relationships with our neighborhoods, businesses, schools, and community organizations. We'll keep listening, learning, and engaging the community because public safety is strongest when it's built together. Looking ahead, I'm excited about what we can accomplish. We will continue to focus on community-based policing, accountability, and proactive problem solving. We'll work to strengthen trust, improve transparency, and ensure that every person in our city feels safe, heard, and respected. Thank you again, Mayor, for this incredible opportunity. Thank you to the members of the Metropolitan Police Department for your service to our city, and a special thank you to my family, my father, my wife, my kids who are here today. Without your love and support, I wouldn't be standing here. Thank you. Take any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You've talked a lot about trust and the community's trust and working along with community members. Thank you. I work for Telemundo. We speak to a lot of Hispanic folks that live here in the district. People are scared. They were telling me today they're scared of contacting MPD. They're scared of contacting MPD and then being transferred to ICE, a possible detention, a possible deportation. What is your message today for the Hispanic community and listeners that are looking at you right now with expectations to be able to trust you?
Sure, absolutely. The Metropolitan Police Department is here for the entire community, including the Hispanic population. We're here to build trust and to work with people. We don't want anyone to feel scared or fearful to contact the police, that they're a victim of crime if they need police services. So I urge them to continue to reach out to us to work with us. I know there's been a lot of things said in the media publicly about immigration enforcement. MPD is here to work with the community to keep us all safe. Yes, sir.
You're credited for your work in strengthening the relationship between federal partners and MPD. As now that this collaboration has been under scrutiny, how do you navigate, this work together, especially given the recent incidents of the HSI agents opening fire while patrolling alongside MPD?
Well, working with our federal law enforcement partners is not really the Metropolitan Police Department. As the mayor said, I've had the opportunity since really 2016 working with our Special Operations Division and our Homeland Security Bureau to work very closely with our federal law enforcement partners. Obviously, our relationship has changed under a new federal task force. With that, we continue to work together. So just making sure that we're strengthening that and making sure that we have the ability to relay to our federal partners really the priorities of the city and the residents here in the city and the community that we serve to make sure they are well represented and the police officers that are working out there with the federal agents can make sure they understand our community. Mark.
Chief, two questions. Thank you. One, will you do anything or what will you do differently than Chief Smith when it comes to the cooperation with the federal surge? And specifically, will you rescind her executive order that dictates how officers interact with people who are not in custody but then being detained? And then I'd also like you to just respond to what, if anything, you'll do regarding the two federal reports that were critical of crime stats that would restore the public's faith in the crime statistics.
Sure. So let's start with the crime statistics. Obviously, there's been some interim reports that came out, draft reports, things that are said. The final reports have not been submitted to us. So obviously, we have some information that's in those reports, but we don't know all the details of what's in there. But with that, obviously, we don't want to wait until the full reports are out. We know there's some concerns related to the data. So really focusing on three areas of improved training for our officers as it relates to the classifications of crime and how we, how we ensure that we're properly classifying crime Also, enhancing our policy and technology controls for making changes to the classifications. So what I'm saying there is tightening up the internal policy that we use as far as the actual response to the officers and when you can change classifications. And our technology, our records management system, the ability to make changes in the system with alerts to members that reports have been changed, as well as the requirement for additional review and approval if a change is made to the report. And finally, something we're looking at is the development of a dedicated auditing team to look at all the reports on the back end to make sure that reports, after they're completed, submitted by the officials from the various bureaus and police districts, there's an independent group within the police department that can look at those reports and make sure they're appropriately classified. Did I get all your questions?
Then on immigration, just cooperation with the surge, and specifically, will you rescind the chief's executive order?
Sure. So obviously, I'm coming in fresh to the seat right now. So right now, I just wanted to kind of take a look at the operations of the police department, kind of see where we're at, and then any decisions about policy changes and things like that, give it a little time with that. We'll continue to work with our federal law enforcement partners. We'll continue not to be directly involved with immigration enforcement as we have in the past. And again, we'll continue to work forward to make the city a safer place. Paul?
Jeff, basically you're taking this job for a year. Are you going to run the department as if this is your job to keep, and once the year is up and there's a new mayor, are you going to try and keep the job, or are you going to go for the job?
Great questions. No, I mean, the mayor is designated as the interim chief of police. I'm going to be the chief of police. I'm going to run the department. I mean, my goal is to move the department forward, to make sure that we're driving down crime, to make sure we're keeping the residents safe, to make sure we're meeting all the goals and expectations of the community. So may it be for a year, may it be nominated by another mayor, whatever it may be. My goal, I've spent the past 23 years for the Metropolitan Police Department, and it's given me a lot. It's given me many opportunities, and my heart's here with the agency. So I'm going to do my best to move this agency forward. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Felicia Ashley, ABC7. As you enter this role, two-part question, are there any aspects or first actions you'd like to take in terms of enhancing MPD? And also, how are you going to address the allegations about certain alleged internal issues about whether it be trust or transparency? From Scott Taylor, he said that your name, among others, was named in a 2021 lawsuit about not taking certain officers' complaints seriously. Going into this role, how do you address that and strengthen the internal relationship?
Sure. So I think it's really important that we continue to work together with the community. I think going into this role, making sure that we're reviewing what's out there, any allegations that are made as it relates to the allegations of this or anything else, obviously they'll be investigated. There's several investigations, as you're aware of, as it relates to the crime stats, but things that come up, we'll continue to investigate. Our internal affairs has done a great job working with their partners at the Department of Justice and Congress to be cooperative with that, and we'll continue to do that.
Let me just jump in for a second to respond to your question, because the reports that have been issued leave a lot to be desired in terms of, evidence and context and any back and forth with the affected agency. So I am going to be asking our Inspector General, the DC Inspector General, to look at the questions that were raised in those two reports. Yes.
I have a question for the mayor and for the chief. For the mayor, I know last week when we talked about a potential new chief, you said there's a deep bench here, a lot of people to look at within MPD. So what stood out to make you decide on Chief Carroll as opposed to other potential candidates?
Let me say this. When you are recruiting top-level executives in the government, one thing that is very important is that the process is confidential, and that has always been my process, and that will remain my process. I'm going to make an exception today because one young lady was drug into this unfairly, I think, and I only looked in MPD. I'm just going to tell you. So I've had internal conversations only, and I selected among highly qualified MPD officials. Jeff, like many of the officials, I have known in various capacities, and I think he has had the opportunity to serve a breadth of leadership roles at MPD, and including most recently as executive assistant chief. And he's very familiar with you guys, with community, with the council, with partners, and he is very excited to take on the role. Yes. Oh, sure.
We've talked about all the last year just how unprecedented it is to be in DC, to be in leadership roles, and especially now, taking on this role. What is the mindset you're going into this job with, just given all the unprecedented events of the last year?
Well, I mean, the past year, I mean, just January alone was it was tremendous with a number of special events, with a plane crash, and just throughout the year, there's been lots of challenges out there. But the Metropolitan Police Department, we're used to that. We're used to a variety of special events. We're used to unplanned things. I would say over the past, 7 years, we've really had a lot of different things that come out there. And the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department, they're able to pivot, they're able to take that and continue to push forward. What the next year will actually lead into, we don't know, obviously. But I feel that, hopefully with my leadership, with the executive team that I have here, the assistant chiefs, we're going to push this agency forward and make it even better than it already is.
Yes.
When you go seventh, the good questions are taken. Question for the interim chief and question for you, Mayor. There's been a lot that has gone on this year with the police department, and we've heard a morale issue exists. We've heard discontent from some officers. What do you do now that you're in charge to address that and get officers feeling better about their jobs and having other people want to come here to be officers?
No, I mean, one of our priorities is not only to recruit new officers, as you mentioned, but it's to retain the officers that we already have here. It does no good to bring in new people if we can't keep the folks that are here. And like I said, the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department, they do outstanding work day in and day out, the calls for service, the variety of things. We do things here at the Metropolitan Police Department that no other police department in the nation do. Escorting the president, the vice president, all these things. So our team, our officers, they do an outstanding job. My goal as I move forward into the role of chief is one of the things is obviously to recruit and retain more people, but also to increase the morale across the department. And I think part of that is through conversations, working with the DC Police Union and their members to make sure that we're addressing the things we can, taking feedback, taking ideas from the members of how we can move this agency forward so it's positive for the entire police department.
Mayor, may I ask you, we've been here for all the chiefs you've named. How has that experience informed that choice of the interim chief? And what have you learned along the years about what that decision needs to be and how you take that information and make your selection?
It's an interesting question. When I was elected mayor, Kathy Lanier was the chief of police. And I spoke to her before I was elected and I said, I want you to be the chief of police. And then, sometime later, the NFL came calling and she went. And I have had the opportunity now to name, actually every chief I've named has come from MPD and with various levels of tenure. Mostly all of them are kind of this vintage of Jeff. And Chief Smith was also MPD, but she had come over from Park Police a couple of years earlier. And so I think in each of those selections, we just had people who were deeply familiar with DC crime. And I always look for in a chief a crime fighter. All right. And some people are philosophers, or some people are this or they're that, but I want somebody who is focused on driving down crime fighting. Yep.
Well, congratulations, Interim Chief Carroll. Martin Austin was my name. One thing that recently came up actually yesterday, and this could be for the mayor or for the Interim Chief, Councilmember Janice Lewis-George, who is running to be the next mayor, could potentially be your next boss, depending on the circumstances, has introduced legislation specifically about immigration enforcement and the role that MPD plays. Her bill would basically say that unless there's a judicial warrant, MPD couldn't transport federal agents, couldn't do surveillance on behalf of federal agents, couldn't participate in any activity around hospitals, schools, that sort of thing when it comes to immigration. What do you think, Mayor or Interim Chief, what do you think about this bill?
There you have it. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser flanked by new interim police chief Jeffery Carroll. According to Mr. Carroll, the MPD is now here for the entire community, and he looks forward to making the city a safer place. We will continue to stream this press conference on our YouTube page, youtube.com/@fox5dc.com. We appreciate you watching the Fox 5 Live Zone. Now back to the presser.
After some of the reporting I've seen over the last couple of days, it's, forgive me.
We all know what you're talking
Yes, thank you.
Mayor Bowser, can you talk about the confirmation process?
Sure.
And residency requirement for the chief. Will you put his name up in the time that is required by DC code for a full confirmation hearing? And chief, do you plan on moving into the district as residency requirements for the chief's position?
The chief is, or any official, well, certain officials in the district are required to make residency within 180 days of confirmation. So I'll leave that at that. And what we plan to do with the confirmation process, let me just say this. I'm mayor as long as I'm mayor, and I have all the powers that attach to that, including appointment. But I am also a person who served on the council, who became mayor, and recognized that mayors like to appoint police chiefs. So I think that this is a conversation. I have had this conversation with Jeff, and so he recognizes that we have some options for him serving as interim, or getting or a conversation that we'll have with the council about how they would handle an appointment.
So can you clarify, because it doesn't sound like you're like, oh yeah, we'll put him up for the normal confirmation. I mean, I get that he may only be there for a year, and so
that is correct. What you just said, that your assessment is correct.
And so you may not put him up for a normal confirmation process?
This is not a normal confirmation process. Yeah.
A question for Jeff and then for you, Mayor, on off topic. Jeff, Michael Pulliam has been on the sidelines for 7 months now after he was accused of manipulating crime numbers. Do you plan to put him back to work?
I expect, and the chief I'll turn to, but I expect that the Inspector General's review will be inclusive of all the data allegations.
Can you comment on the D.C. Court of Appeals ruling on the National Guard?
You know, I only saw the headline. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, Deputy Mayor. Okay.
We comply with court orders, and what we saw is that the Court of Appeals has granted a stay of the lower court order that found that the National Guard deployment was illegal. So we'll continue to do what we do, work with the Attorney General and the Solicitor General to determine what next steps are.
Mayor, you said to me not too long ago you wanted the Guard out of the city. You still feel that way?
I still, what I've said all along is it's a legal question that's going through the courts. And Attorney General Schwab believes strongly in our case. I haven't talked to him since this most recent action, so I want to talk to him and see what he thinks is appropriate for next steps with the case. Yes.
Hi, Emma Huber with the Washington Post. 2 questions for you, Interim Chief Carroll. First of all, one word that came up a lot in your remarks was transparency. Obviously, there's been some mistrust lately, whether it be with crime stats or immigration enforcement. So what tangibly are you going to do to promote transparency? And second of all, you know, you're stepping into a demanding job at an unprecedented time. What made you agree to step up to the task and feel like this is something that you feel called to take on?
Sure. So as it relates to the transparency part, I think I talked about some of the recommendations related to the data, the crime data, and things we're going to implement to make sure that we can, make sure the data is appropriately classified, ways to build in safeguards into that, and then ways to have independent auditing of that data to make sure that if there is an issue, concern, or misclassification, there is a group to address that. So I hope that will help to push forth the transparency. In reference to the immigration, I mean, the conversations with the community, our district commanders, our command staff continue to talk to members of the community. It continues to obviously be a big concern to them. It's a big concern to us, and the feelings that are out there, as it's been raised several times here. So again, we're just going to continue to engage, to talk to folks, to let them know that we are here to support them. As for the question about why I decided, to throw my name in the hat, I guess it is, I've been a member of the Metropolitan Police Department for 23 years, and in that time I've had the opportunity to serve in the 3rd District as an officer, a lieutenant, and a district commander. I had the opportunity to serve in the 1st District as a sergeant. I was in the 6th District as a captain, and I spent my time as the commander of the Special Operations Division, the Assistant Chief of the Homeland Security Bureau, the Assistant Chief of the Internal Affairs Bureau. And over those 23 years, I've had the opportunity really to touch almost all parts of this agency. May it be the first half of my career I spent mainly in patrol, the latter half I spent in a lot of our specialized operations and investigations. So with that, I feel that I'm prepared to look at the agency. I have a lot of knowledge about the agency. I've served on the command staff since 2015. Chief Lanier promoted me to the commander of the 3rd District in 2015, so that's 10 years. I've had the ability to witness the styles of both Chief Lanier, Chief Newsham, Chief Conti, Chief Smith, and through that I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about how chiefs should operate. I've learned a lot about the agency. I've seen the transition of our agency as time has gone on. So I feel that I owe it to the city, I feel it to the department, but I feel I have something to give to push this agency forward.
Chief, of those 4 chiefs that you've worked under, is there one who you would point to as you might model yourself? I know I'm asking you to pick your favorite kid. But
Sure, absolutely. All of them. No, each one of them, just like my favorite kid, each one of them are unique, right? I mean, you guys had the opportunity to cover each one of them, and I've learned something from each one of them. I still stay in contact with all of them to this day. I mean, they provided me the opportunity to work directly with the chief. It's something special, and we have some of the best chiefs in the world at the Metropolitan Police Department. They've gone on to do greater things, but what they've done for this department since I joined with Chief Ramsey, I mean, he's a forefather of modern policing, I would argue to say, with one of the people. And from that, we've really come a long way, and we're going to continue to move forward.
One last. Okay. Can you talk about the moment that you found out the news? Was it in person? Was it on the phone? What was that experience like for you?
Obviously, the mayor said we're not going to get exactly into the process, but it is a process, right? With that being said, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, right? There's a lot of impacts personally, professionally. There's a lot of impacts to my colleagues, my coworkers. I mean, it's a very exciting time. I think I'm prepared for it. I'm looking forward to the challenge to move the department forward as we move forward. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to having some new ideas and implementing some new things kind of as we go through, by taking in the account of the advice and the consideration of the assistant chiefs, our commanders, our inspectors, and the officers in the department. So I'm excited to move forward.
So when you talk about the challenge, what is your greatest challenge as you step forward from this room right here? What's the #1 challenge you're looking at?
Well, I mean, that's a very interesting question. I mean, I think there's a lot of things out there, but really I think the main thing is to move into the role of chief and really to hit the ground running, right? To get the agency moving forward and to take, as the mayor said and I said, to take it, make it my department with the guidance of the assistant chiefs and the commanders. And, we may not have that much time. We may have a lot of time. We don't know, right? But the moments that we do have, the goal is to move forward, to work on crime, to drive this agency forward.
Are you chief now or not until January 1st?
He will be sworn in. I don't know exactly what day, but he'll be sworn in when the chief leaves.
So Smith is still the chief.
Of course, yes, he is. She is. And to answer your question, I looked across the table at him in his eyes and said, "You sure you want this?" As I do everybody, I say, this is Washington, D.C. We're different. We're different. And this is a huge responsibility. And without hesitation, the chief said yes. So thank you, everybody.